Billionaire discovers incredible hidden truth on early return home, a life-changing moment exposed. Jack Reynolds, a titan of industry, the man who could buy and sell celebrities, stared out of the window of his luxurious NYC penthouse, a hollow ache gnawing at him. His eyes, often hungry for the next big deal, now glazed over. A sudden call from Maplewood shattered his world. His mother was in the hospital, and he felt that familiar pull of guilt. He also felt something else: fear. Fear of seeing the town he had left behind. As he stepped into the once familiar streets of Maplewood, the reality hit him like a punch to the gut. The main street was lined with darkened windows and crumbling facades, remnants of a community that once thrived. His childhood friends had aged prematurely, their faces showing the weight of struggles he had long since forgotten. The man who could manipulate markets and move millions felt tiny. Jack instantly spotted Sarah, his first love and now a community organizer, surrounded by a small crowd rallying against economic despair. Each spirited plea she voiced struck him like thunderclaps, revealing a resilience he had never truly appreciated. She was fighting battles, small but critical, while he had grown isolated in the cocoon of luxury. Her gaze caught his, a storm of hurt and intensity swirling beneath the surface. "Jack," she said, stepping forward, "you've been gone a long time." "We all have our paths," he replied, somehow feeling smaller than before. Yet his heart sank as he learned about the corrupt mayor, his childhood friend, who was siphoning funds meant for community programs. Betrayal rippled through him as the whispers spread like wildfire, each one igniting memories of trust and camaraderie. Then, there it was, a moment that shattered Jack's carefully constructed facade. He sat with his mother in the hospital room, the beeping machines almost drowning out her voice. She recounted how they scraped by, saving pennies and working late just to give him the chance to dream big. The sacrifices she made were like weights pulling him under. He had been blind to the privilege his success afforded him. Tension simmered in the air as he listened to her stories, the hours spent teaching, the pride in each student who marched across the stage to receive their diploma. "You've always emphasized hard work, Ma," Jack whispered, his voice cracking, "but I lost sight of why." Tears brimmed in his eyes as the bitter realization hit him. He had traded family for fortune, and walls for wealth. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack stepped into the main street, surrounded by the memories of yesteryear. His heart raced. The empty storefronts stared back at him like scars on the face of a friend. Could he truly make a difference? In that moment, he understood the path to redemption lay not in his bank account but in the hope of Maplewood's people. With all that he had, could he still take that leap of faith? In the silence, the question echoed. Could a man so lost ever find his way back home? Jack stood at the heart of Maplewood, feeling the weight of the town's history pressing down on his shoulders. The air was thick with nostalgia, yet it tasted bittersweet. He was once the dreamer, the boy who believed anything was possible. Now, he felt like an intruder in his own life, a ghost wandering through what used to be his home. As the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the neglected buildings, he spotted Sarah again. She was talking to an older woman, her hands animated, her passion undeniable. Jack could see the fire in her eyes, a blazing defiance against the despair around them. He remembered their shared dreams, the laughter that filled their younger days. How had they drifted so far apart? With resolve knitting itself in his chest, Jack took a step toward her. "Sarah?" he called out, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside him. She turned, surprise flickering across her face, quickly replaced by guarded curiosity. "Jack." Her tone was cautious, as if no longer sure what to expect from him. "I want to help," he declared, the words tumbling out before he could second-guess himself. "I know I haven't been here, but I can't just watch anymore. We need to do something about the mayor and what he's doing to this town. A flicker of hope sparked in her eyes, but it was quickly quenched. You think throwing money at the problem will fix it? She shot back, her intensity piercing through him. This is not just about cash, Jack. This is about trust, about rebuilding everything that was lost. You can't buy back a community. Her words stung, a raw reminder of his failures. Yet, they also ignited something deep within him. He had spent years chasing paper, but maybe this was about reaching for something more authentic connection. I know that, Jack replied, holding her gaze. I want to be part of the solution. Help me understand what you need. Surprised, Sarah studied him closely. For a moment, it felt like time had stopped, the chaos around them fading as they shared a wordless conversation. Then, she exhaled slowly, the tension in her shoulders easing a fraction. All right, but don't think it's going to be easy. We have to rally the community, expose the corruption, and plan an action that really resonates. Jack nodded, feeling a surge of energy replace the doubt. Show me how, he urged, his resolve hardening. As the sun sank behind the horizon, the dim light clinging to the last remnants of day, they began to brainstorm. Ideas bounced back and forth between them like echoes of old memories. Jack listened intently to Sarah, her voice weaving tales of the town's struggles and its tenacity. With every word, he felt the layers of guilt peel away, replaced by a renewed purpose. But as they stepped into the shadows of night, the darker reality loomed. The mayoress' grip on Maplewood was tight, and their opposition would not come without peril. Sarah hesitated, worry etching lines across her forehead. I won't sugarcoat this. You need to be ready for a fight. This will challenge everything you believe about your wealth and power. Then let us fight, he responded earnestly. He could feel the heartbeat of Maplewood echo in his chest, a rhythm of hope. Just then, a loud crash resounded down the street, followed by a panicked shout. The night air crackled with urgency. Without thinking, Jack and Sarah exchanged a worried glance and broke into a run toward the sound. What awaited them might change everything again, but Jack was ready to face it head-on. In that moment of uncertainty, with adrenaline rushing, a thought crossed his mind. Was he truly ready to confront the shadows of his past, to defend a future he long forgot he cared about? With every step, a new question pressed down on him. Could he rise to the challenge when the true test arrived? The street was empty, shadows stretching long as they sprinted toward the source of the sound. Jack's heart thundered in his chest, urgency pushing him forward. Sarah kept pace beside him, her expression determined but laced with fear. They rounded a corner, and chaos unfurled in front of them. A small crowd had gathered around a toppled dumpster. The stench of garbage mixed with adrenaline as people whispered and pointed, their faces flickering with excitement and apprehension. Jack could see a figure crouched by the dumpster, a young man, disheveled and wild-eyed, searching desperately for something. Hey! Jack called out, squaring his shoulders as he approached. The crowd parted, granting him a better view. What happened? I was just looking for my sister. The young man stammered, his voice breaking. She was in there, I swear. Jack felt a rush of empathy. The desperation in the boyish eyes mirrored his own struggle in how he felt toward Maplewood. He looked at Sarah, who was already stepping forward, kneeling beside the young man. What do you mean, she was in there? Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the surrounding tension. Can you tell us more? Suddenly, a woman pushed her way through the crowd, breathless and pale. Mark, what are you doing? The young man's face lit up with recognition. Mom, I swear I thought she was here. Fear coursed through Jack. Who is your sister? Why would she be in a dumpster? As Mark explained, the crowd quieted down, hanging onto his every word. They learned that his sister had disappeared days ago, swept away by the chaos that usually filled their lives. Mark believed she had wandered off and ended up there, hiding from the darkness that seemed to suffocate their town. Jack's mind raced. This was the kind of thing Sarah meant about taking action. An issue that echoed far beyond a corrupt mayor. He felt that familiar spark of determination igniting again, this time fueled by urgency. This was about real lives, not just theories and plans. Let us search, Jack said, stepping forward. We'll help you look. Sarah nodded, and with a quick glance at the crowd, she rallied them into action. Everyone, we need to spread out. Look around. If she's here, we'll find her. Together, they formed small groups, their previous apprehension replaced by a sense of unity. Jack felt a surge of hope wash over him as he joined Sarah and Mark, hastily turning over trash bins and searching nearby alleyways. Minutes felt like hours. Each moment weighed heavy with anxiety, Jack's thoughts racing. If this town was going to heal, it needed to find its heart again, the love, the community that once brought everyone together. And then, amid the frantic search, a shout pierced the night. Over here. Jack and Sarah dashed towards the voice. They arrived at a small cluster of concerned faces, and pushed through to find a girl, maybe 15, sitting on the ground, trembling. She looked dazed but alive. Mark jumped forward as relief flooded his face. Jess, oh my God, he cried, wrapping her in a tight embrace. I was so worried. Sarah wiped away tears that threatened to spill over. Jack stood back, heart swelling in his chest. This was what it meant to fight for something. But as silver moonlight bathed the scene, Jack felt an unsettling twist in his gut. This was a victory. Yes, but it also revealed the shadows still lurking in Maplewood. Mark's sister was safe, but what about the others? What about the deeper issues gnawing at the community's spirit that the mayor had let fester? Sarah turned to Jack, her eyes filled with gratitude and an unspoken question. What's next? He took a deep breath, ready to dig deeper into the darkness that had attempted to smother their town. Somewhere inside him, he could hear the rhythmic heartbeat of Maplewood, urging him on with a promise of rekindled hope. The town needed a new road forward, and Jack was ready to help lead the way. But then, the chilling sound of sirens wailed in the distance, drawing near. Jack exchanged a look with Sarah, a spark of urgency igniting in their shared understanding. As the reality of their fight loomed ever closer, one thought shot through his mind. Were they truly prepared for what was coming? The crowd began to disperse, but the relief that washed over them felt fragile. Jack could still hear Jess's uneven breaths, the sounds of the chaos fading behind her. He glanced around at the few lingering faces, each reflecting the mix of hope and worry now gripping Maplewood. Suddenly, the sirens grew louder, slicing through the air like a warning. Stay close, he said, moving to keep Sarah and Mark within his sight. Adrenaline coursed through him as the reality of the night settled in. They had found Jess, a beacon of light in the darkness, but now it felt as if they were on the precipice of something much greater. The sound of the police cars echoed, and soon blue lights began splashing against the walls of the surrounding buildings, casting eerie shadows across the street. Jack's heart raced. Why was the police here? Had they been alerted to Mark's desperate search? Or did they have other reasons for being in Maplewood tonight? Mark's mother looked at Jess, tears of relief streaming down her face. I thought I lost you, she whispered, pulling her daughter close. Jess remained silent, her fingers digging into her mother's arms as if afraid to let go. The moment was raw, electric with emotion, and Jack felt himself caught in its undeniable gravity. Let us get them home, Sarah urged, glancing at Mark, who still stood a little stunned, joy battling with anxiety across his face. As they began to move away from the dumpster, the sound of a rough voice caught their attention. A tall officer stepped forward, his gaze locking onto Jack and Sarah. You two, what's happening here? Jack met the officer's eyes and held steady, knowing they had just done something significant. We helped find this girl. She was missing. Mark thought she was in the dumpster. The officer's brow furrowed as he scrutinized them, looking for any signs of trouble. Jack could see the seeds of suspicion sprouting in his eyes. Is that so? The officer crossed his arms, the tension rising. And who exactly are you? Before Jack could answer, Sarah jumped in. We're just locals trying to help. The town is falling apart, and we're trying to make a change. The officer's expression softened briefly, but the weight of his authority reasserted itself. You just be careful. There've been incidents. This place isn't safe. He turned abruptly and strode toward the group of officers beside the squad cars. Confusion swirled around them. Jack knew there was more hidden beneath the surface of this town. What kind of incidents? He murmured to Sarah, his heart pounding. Before she could respond, Mark interjected, his voice shaky. They said something about missing people, bad stuff happening at the old warehouses outside town. Fear flickered across his face. I never thought the wind picked up, wild and unsettling, sending leaves swirling through the air. Jack rationalized that they had to investigate. We need to get to the bottom of this, he said, glancing toward Sarah. If there's more at stake than we realized, we can't ignore it. Are you serious? Sarah frowned, concern etching her features. What if it's too dangerous? It is dangerous, but we've got to face it. Calm backwaters don't lead to change. The fire inside him crackled with determination. We can't let fear hold us back. Maplewood needs us. As they exchanged looks filled with a mix of dread and exhilaration, the sirens faded, leaving an empty stillness hanging in the air. Together, they started walking toward the edge of town, where shadows loomed threateningly. But just as Jack felt like they were on the path to uncover the truth, another piercing scream echoed in the night. This haunting pitch sent chills down his spine. What was that? Sarah gasped, gripping his arm tightly. Jack stood frozen. For a fleeting moment, uncertainty gnawed at him. Was it too late to turn back? But the urgency surged through him. They had come this far. There was no turning back now. Let us go. We have to see what's happening. With that, they plunged deeper into the unknown, ready to confront whatever awaited them, bound by their shared courage. But in the back of his mind, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the true nightmare of Maplewood was only just beginning. The darkness wrapped around them like a thick blanket as they moved toward the sound of the scream. Jack felt the tension in the air, almost like a living thing pressing against his chest. Every rustle of leaves or distant clattering sent shivers racing along his spine. Do you really think it's safe to be out here? Sarah whispered, looking around as if the shadows might leap at her. Mark's jaw was tight, his face a mixture of determination and fear. While Jess remained close to her mother, the weight of her recent ordeal etched in her silence. It might not be safe, Jack admitted, his voice low and steady. But we can't just ignore it. If someone needs help, we have to try. As they moved cautiously forward, the shriek punctured the air again, more desperate this time. It felt all too close, reverberating off the abandoned buildings around them. Jack could almost feel the vibrations in his bones. Over there. Mark pointed toward the darkened alley where the sound was coming from. The group exchanged looks, each silently grappling with their fear. But they also knew they couldn't turn back. Not now. Jack took a deep breath, nodding for them to follow. They crept closer, the world around them fading into a blur as they focused on the narrow passage. The alley was littered with old crates and discarded items, and the shadows were deeper than normal. Playing tricks on their minds, a shuffling noise broke the silence, and Jack's heart raced. Stay close, he whispered again, moving ahead cautiously. Suddenly, the moonlight broke through the clouds, illuminating a figure crouched at the far end of the alley. Help! The voice was barely a whisper, but filled with distress. It was a woman, her clothes torn, with wild eyes scanning the area. The sight twisted Jack's stomach in knots. Hey! Jack called out, stepping forward. We're here to help. What happened? The woman's gaze darted to them. You shouldn't be here. He'll come back. Panic edged her voice, and Jack could see her trembling. Who? Sarah asked, her voice shaking slightly. Grady. The woman breathed, her eyes wide with terror. He takes people. You have to go. Please. Jack's heart sank. The feeling that something sinister was lurking in Maplewood was now a reality. What do you mean he takes people? But before they could get further answers, the alley darkened again as a figure emerged, tall and imposing, the outline sharp against the faint light from the street. Get away from her, he shouted, instinctively stepping between the woman and Jack's group. He felt a surge of fierce protection for those beside him. Back off, the figure growled, stepping into the light. You don't know what you're getting into. His eyes glinted like cold steel. "Who are you?" Jack demanded, standing tall despite the fear creeping in. The figure smirked, but there was something unsettling about the way he looked them over. Just someone who wants to keep things under control. Just then, the woman squeaked and scrambled back, fear obviously etched in her features. Jack felt the chill of realization creeping in. This was no ordinary situation. They were staring right into the heart of Maplewood's darkness. "Run!" Jack shouted as he pulled Sarah and Mark back, instinct kicking in. They stumbled backward, but the looming figure didn't move, just stood there, a sick smile on his face. "Go on, run. But know this isn't the end." The voice dripped with a threat that hung in the air like a storm cloud. The group turned to flee, adrenaline kicking in as they sprinted back towards safety. But as they raced away, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the chase had only just begun. "What do we do?" Sarah gasped as they regained the street's light. Jack's mind raced. "We need to warn everyone. They can't be left in the dark about this. Whatever that man is planning, we can't let it happen." As they caught their breath, Jack's stomach knotted with the weight of what lay ahead. The shadows of Maplewood were closing in, revealing secrets that could change everything. Tomorrow, he promised, determination settling in. "We'll find the truth." But little did they know, the true test was yet to come, and Maplewood was about to unveil a reality darker than they ever imagined. The next day dawned gray and heavy, the clouds looming like a warning. Jack stared out his bedroom window, the stillness of the morning rattling him. He couldn't shake the images of the woman's terrified face and the looming figure like a shadow over his thoughts. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those cold eyes watching him. "Jack, breakfast." His mom called from downstairs. The familiar sound felt foreign given the dread settling deep within him. As he joined his family at the table, laughter floated around him, but it felt hollow. He barely touched his pancakes, lost in thoughts of Maplewood's darkness. His sister, Lucy, jabbered on about some school project, a bright contrast to the murky shadows that engulfed his mind. "Are you okay?" His mom looked at him, a frown creasing her forehead. "You look pale." "Yeah, just tired," he muttered, forcing a smile. But the worry in his mom's face didn't ease his own. After breakfast, he grabbed his jacket and rushed outside. The streets felt quieter today, almost peaceful. Jack didn't know what to expect when he got to Maplewood, but he knew they had to act quickly. If that figure was as dangerous as the woman implied, they were running out of time. At the edge of the town, Sarah and Mark were already there, and both looked just as anxious. "Did you sleep at all?" Sarah asked, her eyes wide with concern. "No," he replied, shaking his head as they set off again toward the alley. It felt both familiar and terrifying, a descent into the unknown. As they stepped into the alley, the air thickened. Shadows crept along the walls, whispering secrets that made the hair on the back of Jack's neck stand on end. "Stay alert," he urged. "What if he's waiting for us?" Mark asked, his voice trembling slightly. "We have to be ready for anything," Jack insisted, his heart pounding. "If we find anything, a clue, a sign, we have to take action." They scoured the alley, peeking behind crates and rusted barrels. The echo of their footsteps bounced off the walls, stark against the heavy silence. Jack felt that fear again, the prickling sensation crawling across his skin. Then Jess's voice broke through the shadows. "Guys!" She stood at the mouth of the alley, her small frame silhouetted by the light. "I found something." Rushing over, they gathered around her. In her hands, she held a small, tattered note, the edges fraying. "I found it next to the wall there," she said, excitement trembling in her voice as she unfolded it. Jack's heart raced. "What does it say?" Jess squinted at the paper, reading aloud. "The truth lies beneath the shadows." "What does that even mean?" Mark asked, brow furrowed in confusion. Jack's mind raced. Beneath the shadows, could it be? He hesitated, then finished, "The old warehouse by the river." "That place is abandoned," Sarah reminded him. "It's dangerous." "Exactly," Jack urged, determination igniting within him. "But if Grady is connected to whatever is happening in Maplewood, we have to go there." to uncover the truth. Each of them exchanged hesitant glances, the reality settling in. This wasn't just a mission anymore. It was a stepping stone into a world they barely understood. As they started back toward the street, Jack noticed a figure watching them from a distance. That same sickly smile from last night flashed in his mind. Fear grabbed hold, but he couldn't let it control him. They had to face whatever lay ahead. Jack glanced back at his friends. "Are you with me?" They nodded, albeit uneasily. Underneath the sense of dread was a sliver of hope. If they confronted the truth, they might save more than just themselves. As they approached the edge of the alley, a sudden gust of wind swept through, scattering the leaves around them. "Let us go," he urged again, heart pounding, as they took one final look behind them. Each step forward echoed in Jack's mind, decisive, deliberate. But even now, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching them, waiting for their next move. What awaited them in the shadows of that warehouse? Would they find answers, or would it lead them deeper into danger? The walk to the warehouse felt like an eternity. Jack's heart raced, fueled by a mix of anxiety and adrenaline. He could hear the crunch of gravel beneath their feet, each step a reminder of the unknown that loomed ahead. The feeling of being watched pulsed in his veins, prickling at his skin with every glance over his shoulder. "Jack, you really think it could be something?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," he said, "but we have to find out. If that note is real, we can't just ignore it, can we?" Lucy, trailing behind with a mix of curiosity and fear on her face, pointed ahead. "Look!" The warehouse came into view. It towered ominously against the gray sky. Tall weeds and wildflowers edged the broken pavement, giving the place an eerie, forgotten feel. Windows were shattered. The door hung ajar, swinging gently in the breeze as if beckoning them closer. "What if this is a bad idea?" Mark said, stopping in his tracks. "What if Grady really is waiting for us?" Jack turned to him, determination hardening his features. "We won't know unless we step inside. We can't let fear control us." With a nod from the others, they pressed on, the door creaking as they pushed it open. A musty smell enveloped them, mingling with the scent of rust and decay. Shadows danced around them, creating shapes that felt alive. Yet nothing could compare to the pulse of silence in the air. "Stick together," Jack instructed, his voice steady despite the shivers racing down his spine. They moved deeper into the dimly lit space. The light from the entrance barely reached the back, leaving an abyss where anything could hide. Jess reached out, grabbing Jack's sleeve. "What if we find something worse than we expected?" Jack shrugged but held her gaze. "Then we deal with it together." As their eyes adjusted to the darkness, they could make out old crates, peeling paint, and rusted machinery left to gather dust. Jack glanced around, looking for any signs that might lead them to the truth. Suddenly, Sarah pointed to a rusted door in the back corner. "Look over there. It might lead to something." They approached cautiously. Jack felt a pull, as if something was urging him to find out what lay behind that door. When he reached for the handle, a cold rush of air hit him, sending chills through his body. "Are you sure?" Mark whispered, voice low. "This place feels wrong." Tension hung thick in the air. Jack met the eyes of each of his friends. "We came this far, right? There's no turning back." Taking a deep breath, he pushed the door open. It swung with a long, low moan, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. A flicker of unease coursed through him, but beneath it was the thrill of discovery. The note had hinted at something hidden, something important. "Should we go?" Jess asked, her voice trembling. Jack nodded firmly, heart pounding. "We have to. Whatever the truth is, we can't shy away now." They descended slowly, the wooden steps creaking under their weight. The farther they went, the darker it became, until even the thought of an exit faded into obscurity. Just as Jack thought he might turn back, a faint glow flickered in the distance. "There's something down there," Lucy gasped, pointing. The glow beckoned like hope in the shadows. As they reached the bottom, Jack could make out a room bathed in an eerie light. His breath caught in his throat as the shapes around them began to take form, revealing what secrets lay hidden beneath the surface of Maplewood. But just as Jack stepped into the room, a noise erupted from behind them. The door slammed shut, trapping them in darkness. What was that? Mark cried, eyes wide with fear. Jack turned, dread pooling in his stomach. Were not alone. What had they stumbled into? And who or what was lurking in the shadows waiting for them? Panic sliced through the air like a knife. Jack's heart thudded in his chest, each beat echoing the fear of the unknown. The dim glow from the other room flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced around them, playing tricks on their minds. Is there another way out? Lucy whispered, her voice barely above the thrum of their anxiety. Mark shook his head, his eyes scanning the room for salvation. Not that I can see. We're trapped. Jack felt the walls closing in. He stepped back towards the door, but the thick darkness behind it felt suffocating. We can't let fear dictate our next move. There has to be a way to find out what's really going on here. Jess was visibly trembling. But what if it's something we're not prepared to face? He glanced at her, seeing the flicker of doubt in her eyes. Sometimes the truth is scarier than the nightmare. But think about what we might uncover. Could change everything. Taking a deep breath, Jack faced the room again. The glow pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. He took a hesitant step toward it. Let us go see what that light is. We can't let this chance slip away. As they moved cautiously towards the source, the glow intensified, revealing a makeshift wooden table scattered with items that seemed incongruous in the setting. Old photographs, faded and torn, lay strewn across the surface next to a dusty metal box. Something about it called to Jack as if it held an answer, a piece of the puzzle they had been seeking. Look, photographs, Sarah exclaimed, bending closer to inspect them. Are these people we know? Jack moved to her side. The faces in the images were hauntingly familiar. Grady's father. Voices murmured from somewhere deep within him as he connected the dots. That's Mr. Collier, but why are these here? Jess pulled him back, fear gripping her heart. Careful, Jack. What if this isn't meant for us to find? As Jack reached for the metal box, a chilling breeze swept through the room, and the lights flickered ominously. Suddenly, the air grew heavier, thick with tension. Maybe we shouldn't. Mark started, but it was too late. Jack's fingers grazed the cold metal surface, and with a small twist, the clasp unlocked effortlessly. Inside, documents piled high, with one at the top marked with a red stamp. Urgent. Jack's fingers trembled as he pulled it free. What is this? He wondered aloud, as he read the words, his breath catching on the horror unveiled. Jack, what does it say? Sarah pressed, peering over his shoulder. It's about shady dealings with Grady's name right in the middle. He stammered, feeling the weight of the revelations crashing down. They've been hiding something big. Maybe we should leave, Lucy urged, her voice trembling, the shadows closing in around them. No, we're too close now. We need to understand what this means. For all of us. Just then, the door behind them rattled violently, as if something or someone was trying to break in. The growl of footsteps echoed through the corridor, closing in, jotting fear under their skin. Jack's heart raced, adrenaline pumping fiercely. The realization slowly dawned on him. They weren't just uncovering a secret. They were stepping into a danger that had been long buried. The truth was no longer just a matter of understanding, it had now become a question of survival. Stay together. We need a plan, he shouted, but uncertainty riddled his chest as they braced themselves for what lay ahead as the door splintered. Jack felt the world flipping on its head. Who or what was waiting beyond, and what would they do when they found it? The splintering door echoed like thunder in Jack's ears. He instinctively stepped back, pulling Jess and Mark in with him. The air crackled with tension as they huddled together, hearts pounding in unison. Stay quiet, Jack whispered, his voice barely a murmur over the chaos. The metallic rattling continued, and each sound felt like a countdown to whatever was lurking on the other side. Lucy's eyes darted around the room, searching for anything they could use as a weapon. The flickering light cast eerie shapes on the walls. What if we can't get out? She asked, her voice trembling, giving way to the raw panic within. "We will get out," Jack assured, forcing confidence into his voice. "But we need to be ready. Whatever is on the other side of that door, we can't let it catch us off guard." The rumbling outside intensified, and a cold sweat slicked Jack's palms. He turned back toward the table, the scattered documents somehow more menacing now. What if they'd stirred something they weren't meant to? "We need to move. We have to find another exit." But as he spoke, the door gave way with a crashing sound, sending splinters flying. A figure loomed in the entry, dark and imposing. Shadowed by the dim light, its face remained obscured, but the silhouette told them everything they needed to know. It was no friendly face. "Run!" Mark shouted, the fear igniting their instincts. They bolted in the opposite direction, hearts racing. Each step felt shaky, the floorboards creaking ominously beneath their hurried movements. "Where do we go?" Sarah gasped, looking back towards the dark figure who was now stepping fully into the room. The heavy footfalls echoed behind them, phantom-like and relentless. Jack's mind raced. "This way," he directed, veering towards an old staircase tucked in the corner, barely visible in a web of shadows. He hoped it led to safety or at least a way out of the hell they had stumbled into. They flew up the creaking steps, stumbling over each other as they climbed. The atmosphere thickened with each breath, laced with the unmistakable scent of dust and fear. Jack caught a glimpse back at the figure. It was closer now, an intangible threat driving them forward to the top of the stairs. They nearly collided with a door. Jack's heart thundered as he fumbled with the rusty handle. It wouldn't budge. "Come on," he urged, panic flaring anew. He pushed against the door with all his strength, willing it to open. "Jack, we're running out of time," Jess cried, her voice rising. Jack could hear the figure's footsteps growing closer behind them. With one final heave, the door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit attic space filled with cobwebs and the weight of forgotten stories. They burst through, breathing heavily, slamming the door shut behind them just before it could be caught. "Now what?" Lucy asked, glancing around at the dark corners and dusty trunks. Jack could barely think. "We need to find something," he stammered, scanning for anything useful or, at the very least, a way to barricade the door. Just as he stepped further into the room, a loud bang reverberated from the closed door. "And we need to fast," he added, heart still racing. With the urgency of their situation settling in, Jack noticed an old trunk in the corner, its edges worn but still sturdy. "Help me with this." They rushed over, working together to pry it open. Inside, to their shock, lay an assortment of items: old tools, a flickering lamp, and what appeared to be papers. But nobody spoke. They all felt the weight of uncertainty and dread. Sarah whispered, pointing at one of the papers sticking out. "Look." He pulled it free and felt his breath hitch as he read the familiar names scrawled across the document. Names that sent chills coursing down his spine. They were involved, he breathed, in everything. "This goes deeper than we thought." Just then, the door shook under another forceful impact, and Jack realized their time was almost up. He couldn't help but wonder. Was the true danger outside the door, or was it what they might uncover inside this trunk? With fear punctuating the moment, he turned to his friends. "What do we do now?" In the tense silence that followed, it became clear whatever lay beyond would soon find them. But the real question lingered. Could they survive the truth? The atmosphere in the attic was thick with dread as Jack's words hung like a weight in the air. They scanned each other's faces, looking for reassurance, but all he saw were reflections of fear mirroring his own. "Jack, we need to figure out what to do now," Lucy urged quietly, her voice trembling, eyes darting toward the door, where the unsettling rhythm of knocks grew louder. Okay, he replied, drawing in a shaky breath. A tattered reminder of Maplewood's past lay before them, treasures hidden within the trunk. Whatever lay in those papers could illuminate the way forward. "We can't hide forever," Sarah said. "We need to either fight or escape. Whatever we find could expose Grady, but it might also put us in more danger." Jack nodded slowly. "The more we know, the better chance we have to protect ourselves and the town." Picking a stack of papers, he glanced over the data, his heart pounding faster. They're tied to the past, and they might just hold not only Grady's secrets but maybe the key to coming together again. If we reveal this, it could ignite a deafening crack echoed through the room, followed by splintering wood as the door shook violently from another blow. Another push, and Jack's resolve surged within him. We can't let fear dictate our actions, we have to take control. In an adrenaline-fueled rush, Jack sorted through the contents of the trunk, focusing desperately. I think there are names here: construction companies, donations, everything suggesting a network. Network for what? Mark asked, eyes wide. They were paying off the mayor to cover up their schemes. Keeping our community in the dark while taking from it, Jack exclaimed, determination weaving through his voice, as he found a particularly incriminating document showing a massive transfer of funds from a mysterious organization back to Grady. We have to expose this, Sarah said, her anger bubbling to the surface. No more hiding. If we can get this evidence to the citizens, we can rally support. I'll do it, Jack stated earnestly, his heart racing at the thought of stepping into danger for his home. I'll take the documents straight to the local news. This has to go public. Just then, the door buckled again. The figure outside was relentless. Jack felt all eyes on him. I can't drag you into this alone, he said, his voice firm. If this goes south, it could be too risky for all of you. We're in this together, Sarah insisted, stepping closer, her eyes fierce. We either fight for our town or we lose it forever. No more running. A swell of solidarity washed over him. In that moment, vulnerability faded, replaced by a sense of purpose stronger than fear. I won't let this place become a shell of what it once was, Jack said. He turned back to the trunk, grabbing the full stack of documents, his resolve solidifying further. Let us leave now, together, he commanded. Gesturing toward another exit, he spotted a small window that led to the roof. Swiftly, they piled pieces of furniture to help reach it. With hearts racing, they climbed out. The night air hit them like a rush of cold water. Their adrenaline surged as they made their way to the edge of the roof, their future hanging in the balance. Can you get down there? Mark asked, glancing over the ledge. Can, Jack said. I'll be quick. Stay hidden until I call you. Okay. Sarah nodded, determination imbuing her voice. We trust you. Jack took a deep breath and climbed down from the slanted roof, landing quietly among the shadows of the alley below. Stay close by, he murmured, holding the documents tight against his chest as he darted toward the secluded street. Each pulse of his heart drummed a rhythm of courage as he reached the edge of Maplewood's darker streets, the periphery of danger filled with possibilities. With the sirens of change now buzzing in his ears, Jack slipped into the nearest bar, a place where courage often met conviction. He could feel the pulse of community growing around him, each face that turned toward him a reminder of why they were fighting. Behind closed doors, he knew they couldn't ignore the looming shadows any longer. Jack clutched the documents with intent. As the group slipped silent inside the bar, voices quieted, curiosity igniting in their eyes. I need to speak with you all, he declared, standing tall amidst the group gathered. What has been happening in this town is worse than anyone knows. There was a shared gasp at his words, a shifting constituency ready to rise. We need to come together, draw hope from our shared past. It's time for Maplewood to fight back. Empowerment coursed through Jack as familiar faces flickered through the crowd. Those who had mentored him, those who had lived through this darkness. They were ready. The fight had begun, spurred by conviction, fueled by hope. Jack watched as the fire in the eyes of Maplewood rekindled, hearts beating in rhythm toward change as the first voice in the room rose in protest against the corruption. He felt a spark ignite within him. Together, they would reclaim their community. Jack took a deep breath, his heart swelling with hope and purpose as they discussed plans moving forward. It wasn't just about battling Grady anymore. It was about reviving a spirit, a community, a future. And somewhere within those conversations, he felt an unwavering bond grow, a beacon of family and resilience that had been resurrected through their shared struggles. Maplewood would not fade into oblivion. It would rise again. The fight had only just begun. Now, dear friends, as we wrap up this powerful chapter, I urge you, Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next wild journey we embark on together. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the passion we share for these stories. Comment right away with your reactions and feelings about this gripping ending. I can't wait to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand just how vital it is to support the channel with every single action.